Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 62. You're here with Corey, Doug, and Murph. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Today, we're going to run through each of our 10 favorite films of 2021, along with some honorable mentions that we wanted to make note of. But before we get to that, let's run through some news and what we watched over this past week, including The Mandalorian Season 2.5, aka The Book of Boba Fett. But we'll get to exactly why I called it that in a little bit. But first up, we got news. Academy Award nominations came out this week. The Power of the Dog, the Netflix film with Benedict Cumberbatch, led the field with 12 nominations. All four of its main actors were nominated, which is pretty huge. The director of the film, Jane Champion, it's her second Academy Award nomination for Best Director, which is the first time that's ever happened for a female director in film history. So worth noting. Other than that, Dune picked up the second most with 10 nominations. Obviously, a lot of those are technical, but still got nominated for Best Picture, among other things. What else we got? Best Picture. This was the first year since 2011 that we've had 10 nominations. Since 2010 that we've had 10 nominations, since it's just a straight 10 rather than a 5 to 10 field as they've done ever since 2011. So our nominees were Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, and The Power of the Dog. Other than that, and West Side Story. Sorry, that came after the break. With Best Director, we had Kenneth Branagh. I will not attempt to say the director of Drive My Car's name. I will likely learn it throughout the rest of the award season. PTA for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, and Spielberg for West Side Story. I'm not going to run through the rest of the nominees, but is there anyone that was nominated that you guys particularly want to see win without spoiling our top 10 list or anything like that? Maybe we can talk more about the acting categories. Anyone that you're looking to see win, or anyone you wish was nominated that wasn't?
In terms of one that comes to mind, just director is Denis Villeneuve. I was shocked that he didn't get a nomination for Dune. For just as a director, that was really shocking to me. So,
yeah, I kind of agree. I thought that was kind of odd that he was left off too. The only thing I could think of is maybe because they thought it was a part one of a 2-part series.
Yeah, that's what I figure. They're waiting till part 2 to nominate for even more stuff.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Overall, I thought it was pretty interesting, but no one really, as snub wise, really popped out for me.
I saw a lot of people were upset about Tick Tick Boom not being on there. I don't know. I didn't love that movie, so
yeah. Andrew Garfield was the big nomination for that one.
Yeah, I heard he was really good. I haven't seen it yet.
I thought he was the best part of that movie, so that worked for me. I could see a world where Bradley Cooper could have been nominated. He had
for Nightmare Alley.
For Nightmare Alley, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because the one he was nominated for a lot, throughout the season, was Licorice Pizza, even though he's only in the movie for 5 minutes total.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job with Nightmare Alley. Trying to think what else.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty expected. There weren't any shockers, I think, either way, for me.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It was the same old. I don't know. I kind of thought the nominees were boring.
Yeah,
disagreed with a lot of the Best Picture nominees, but I hope Will Smith wins. I'm happy he's nominated for King Richard.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see PTA win. for Licorice Pizza, because that was just such a fun movie.
Yeah, I'd like to see him win. Other than that, there's really nothing I really care about as far as winners. Like,
Yeah.
Billie Eilish, I guess, for best song.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was kind of I don't know. The nominees didn't do much for me this year, unfortunately. Doug, what about you? You've seen a lot of the movies nominated.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that I was upset about not being on there. I mean, usually I feel like there's been other past seasons where I've been a lot more upset. This was kind of like a shoulder shrug for me. I'm interested to see like best animated movie. I'm curious what's going to win. I have a feeling it's not going to be Encanto. Probably be like Luca or something.
Yeah, like the best animated field, I think, is better than the best picture field.
It's yeah.
Like, I haven't seen all 5 of them yet. I've seen 3 of them, and the 3 I saw, I liked a lot. So, I still have to see Encanto on the other one.
I keep hearing that movie.
Just the 3 I've seen, that's 60% of the movies that I loved, and I don't. Of the best picture nominees, I did not like 6 of those movies. So,
yeah. Yeah, I don't think it'll be Encanto. It's probably to me it's going to be a fight out between the Millers. Is it Miller? We are Mitchells.
Yeah,
And,
we're the Millers.
We're the Millers. I was really confused when that was on the list.
Mitchell's versus the Machines and Luca. I feel like Mitchell might have the edge on that, but who knows?
Yeah, I guess Pixar and Sony won the last 2. Or no, I guess or Pixar won the last 2, and then Sony won the year before for Spider-Verse. Pixar won for Soul and Toy Story 4. So yeah, it's probably between those 2. I mean, if I had to guess.
And I saw people were upset that Disney. We don't talk about Bruno from Encanto wasn't.
Oh, that was nominated. What was the song?
It was the sadder slow song. Those something 2 caterpillars, but in Spanish.
Oh, we'll see if Lin-Manuel can get a win. Surprisingly enough, he didn't when he was nominated for Moana. But it seems like this movie's even like bigger as far as the soundtrack goes. So
it sure seems that way. Like it blew up. Like it seems like once it went streaming.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I guess the only snub that I really had was Alana Haim not getting nominated for Best Actress for Licorice Pizza. That was probably the only one that I was bummed about. She got a lot of nominations prior to this.
That's a good call out.
But yeah, there's still some I have to catch up on. I need to see Being the Ricardos, Tick Tick Boom, The Tragedy of Macbeth. Those are like the big 3. And Encanto that I still want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to have seen Licorice Pizza, but
yeah, it's only just expanding like nationwide tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely have a chance to see it over the next probably week or 2. It seems like.
I'm not
sure
going
it's
to
been
the movie theater.
It's probably been by him for the past 2 months. He just chose not to go, or the past month and a half.
So you're waiting for streaming. Got it.
Yeah, it'll be another month or 2, and it'll be on Amazon.
Probably. Yeah.
There you go.
Give or take.
All right. Well, we'll catch up on some of these movies over the next month, and then give our final thoughts on the Oscars when they air in late March, I believe. All right. Moving on to box office. So obviously, we did our winter spring box office draft on our last episode. So now we've had our first weekend with films out. This past weekend, Jackass Forever opened at number 1, made about $23 million. Not bad. Definitely a huge drop from Jackass 3D, and a pretty decent drop from Bad Grandpa and Jackass number 2, but it did make more than Jackass the movie. Moonfall bombed about 10 million. So nothing great there. So as of now, I'm in the lead with 24 million, and Doug has 10 million. Corey's got $0. Corey, this coming weekend, you have Death of the Nile. I have Marry Me, and yeah, that's it for this weekend. So we'll see how things shift up. I should still be number one after this coming week. Doug, your next film's Uncharted. But as anyone who listened to our last episode knows, you guys have somewhat of an advantage in the fact that you both have 6 films this winter, spring, and I only have 5 because you were confident. You were both very confident that the Batman would be a juggernaut, and we shall see come March 4th. Tickets now on sale. Get them now.
Did you get your tickets yet, Doug?
Yeah, I got my tickets.
Oh, okay, good.
I'll be doing a Saturday matinee.
Yeah, I doubt there was much of a rush on those tickets.
Yeah, no, it was easy. I got right in the middle.
There you go.
In the big theater I like, so I'm happy. I'm not saying this because it's the movie I picked and it underperformed, but I think we need to see Moonfall.
You are really, really pushing for Moonfall. Why?
The plot is like batshit crazy.
Well, yeah, but
like it's not like the moon falling is not like half. It's like a very small part of the actual like what's really going on. There's like aliens, and like the moon's actually hollow, and we gotta see this.
We're not gonna see it.
Goes on the list with Blown Away, Doug.
Yeah, if we're watching it, we're all watching it together sometime. Otherwise, not happening.
I'm definitely not going to the movies to see it.
It sounds like a good time. It really does. I'm not just saying that. It just sounds like because it's so fucking ludicrous and
I mean, each time I saw the trailer, I'm like, God, this gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah, like I thought it was just gonna be like a disaster movie of just the moon crashing onto planet Earth, and it's like it's not even like the half of it.
Yeah. Are the reviews like positive at all? I haven't even looked at them.
They're bad. They're not good reviews.
I don't know. This one sounds like to me it's like one of those that's so bad it's good.
It could be. It could be.
It's a misunderstood film.
No, it's just like you just got to go into it knowing that like you're gonna be kind of like making fun of it and how ridiculous the plot is.
But yeah, let's not see Moonfall. Go just buy your Batman tickets and we'll be good. But speaking of another topic we did earlier this year, it was our most anticipated movies of 2022. Naturally, my number 3 movie has already been pushed to 2023. Awesome. But yeah, Mission Impossible 7 and 8 were both delayed. So Mission Impossible 7 will be coming out in July 2023, and Mission Impossible 8 will be coming out in June 2024. And supposedly these are supposed to be the final 2, and then it's supposed to be a send-off for Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt. I'll believe it when I see it, but it's apparently 7 is going to end on like a big cliffhanger. So Tom Cruise wanted to make sure 7 and 8 were both completely like wrapped filming, so nothing potentially got fucked up if 7 came out this September and they couldn't end up getting everything that they wanted done with 8 because of COVID and all these other things, him dying on set maybe, since he's going to be doing apparently the craziest shit of his career. But
yeah,
I don't know how it could be any crazier than it already been. Like what can he possibly do? I'm sure he will, but I can't even fathom like what the hell he's gonna do.
God only knows.
Going to space.
He's supposed to go to space in another movie, so I don't think it's happening in this one. But they'll figure out something. All right, let's move on to what we watched, which is strictly the Book of Boba Fett. So, Corey, did you watch the finale?
I didn't, but it's okay because at this point I've heard not great things, so I don't know if I'm going to watch it.
It's a not great show, so that makes sense that you heard not great things.
So I might pass, but I'm also kind of curious too. So it's going to depend on
You
this
might as
conversation.
well you might as well just watch it.
Why?
Yeah,
I haven't watched
Just
most
do something
of
in
it.
the Just do something in the background.
All right.
I mean, you're gonna want to watch it like if you're gonna watch Mandalorian season 3, since all it is fucking set up for Mandalorian season 3. Yeah. So
all it is like undoing season 2.
undoing yeah, that's true. All it is undoing the finale.
Yeah, I'm very curious. So yeah, please elaborate.
It's like a reset back to like never mind.
But yeah, we're gonna talk spoilers, so you should have caught up by now, or press pause or turn this off for the time being. But yeah, I'm someone who backed out after episode 1, but came back in at episode 5 because everyone was like, "Oh, you got to watch it. It's the Mandalorian. It's not the Book of Boba Fett," and that continued for the rest of the season. Yeah. So we're gonna talk 5, 6, and 7, and ultimately how it worked as a show, both as in the entirety, which Doug saw, and as the Mandalorian 2.5, as I saw, and Corey partly saw somewhat. Doug, as a full show, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a mess. I don't know how else to describe it. It just like because the show starts out with Boba taking over his seat of power in that city in Tatooine, which and then there's also like the back to tank. He's in the back to tank, and there's like the flashbacks of him and how he I guess took on this pacifist persona that he has in modern day. And so it starts the first two episodes like that, and then like abandons it, and then goes to this like biker gang Power Ranger group that he befriends, and then like it turns into the Mandalorian. And then the last episode kind of to me felt like I don't know, it just kind of felt like they were like, we gotta like wrap up all these stories, these like loose plot threads that we've like kind of left dangling in all these different episodes, and they just kind of like haphazardly tried to tie a bow on it, and it just like I don't know, it didn't work for me as a show. Just as like when you're looking, it didn't work for me individual episode wise, and then it didn't work as like a cohesive whole either, just because it seemed like they were going somewhere with the flashbacks and how he befriended the Sand People tribe and
the Tusken Raiders,
the Sand Raiders, and how they got murdered, and how he's like avenges their death, and I don't know, it just felt like that was going to tie into like the plot in some meaningful way. And I think there was like one line in the final episode where they were just like, the Pikes were just like, "Oh yeah, we really killed his Sand Raiders tribe," and it was like, was that supposed to be impactful? Like, that didn't, just kind of felt like a throwaway line. Like, it didn't really hit for me. And I would say a lot of the stuff in the last episode like didn't hit for me. It felt like they tried to do too much in that episode. There was no like that moment where he was just like, "Oh yeah, we killed the Sand People," the leader of the Pikes, was like kind of how a lot of the moments I found in the last episode to be, where they were just like, "Oh yeah, and this happened, and oh yeah, here's this other reveal, and here's this other reveal," and like, but they didn't do anything to earn these reveals or these moments, and so it all just kind of rang hollow for me, which was disappointing.
The little bit that I saw, because there were the earlier episodes I didn't watch other than the premiere. It seemed like they could not decide if they wanted it to be like this cohesive story or like very serialized. And so like it was so disjointed, especially by the time you got to episode 5. It was jarring, even just from hearing what I missed from episodes 2, 3, and 4. Like it was just like completely disjointed. There was not really a main character. The stories were a mess. Everything was just like kind of all over the place. So it was like, seemed like it was just a shoddy script. Like they knew they wanted to continue Mandalorian, so they just threw that information in there. But everything else was just like fluff.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the purpose of that show was supposed to be.
It reminded me a lot of a long-winded anime or cartoon where you have like those random episodes after like an arc, like a main arc, and it's like, oh, the characters are going and doing some like random adventure that means nothing to the story, but it was just added in for, for fluff. That's what that most of that show seemed like, just in terms of like Mandalorian to me.
I don't know. I'm fine with like going on a meaningless adventure as long as like it's an enjoyable adventure. And this
I
just like
suppose.
wasn't an enjoyable adventure. It just, I don't know. Whatever, like, I don't know what they wanted Boba Fett to be and why, if they thought like just the goodwill of people loving that character was gonna carry him, but
Yeah.
like they made him like one of the least interesting characters you could possibly follow. He was just boring.
He was not interesting at all. And you're completely correct. They made him into a pacifist, but he wasn't interesting. Like they didn't write him well enough in that role for him to be an interesting character. He was just hollow, and which is stupid because Tamir Morrison's he's a great actor. Like it just seemed like a really boring take on, an iconic character. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I watched 4 of the 7 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was not in one episode at all of the 4, and he had a cameo in another one of the 4, and he was like a co-lead on the 3rd episode, which was the season finale.
So weird.
Like this was like my second favorite character in Star Wars when I was a kid. I don't ever want to see this character ever again after The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. I just don't find him remotely interesting anymore. They took everything that was cool about Boba Fett in Empire Strikes Back. Because, I mean, now that I'm older, like I realize he wasn't even cool in Return of the Jedi. I mean, blind Han Solo fucking knocked him into the Sarlacc pit. But ever since The Mandalorian came out, all they did was take the cool traits of Boba Fett from the original trilogy and put it onto Mando. Like, there's no point to bring back Boba Fett if you're just going to turn Boba Fett into another character. Like, because this Boba Fett does not feel anything of apart with the one that was back in 1980, 1983. So that was just disappointing. I'm sure he will be back in The Mandalorian season 3. I would be surprised if they made a second season of the Book of Boba Fett based on the audience reaction. He's clearly a supporting character. He couldn't carry his own one season of his own television show. And it was only 7 episodes. Like I have to stress that enough. It was 7 episodes and he was essentially not in 2 of them. It's mind blowing how weird of a creative decision that was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand. Yeah. I don't know that like I could have sworn that like there was each person was told to write their own episode and there was a room of writers and each one was locked away in a room and they didn't communicate and all they had to like understand what was going on is like a sentence or two of just knowing what happens in the next episode. Because that's the way it felt like it was written. So like the fact that it was just like Jon Favreau wrote all of them and like knew or plotted this whole thing out.
All came out of, it all came from his brain.
It's just like how do you like have that happen? I don't know. I don't know.
Who directed the finale?
Robert Rodriguez.
Okay.
I don't know. He directed the premiere.
Yeah.
The finale. I don't know how many others.
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed.
Filoni did the last one.
Yeah, Filoni did the second to last.
The second to last.
And he co-wrote that episode. So I think anything that involves Ahsoka, he is going to be writing. It seems like that's going to be his baby, that TV show, more so than Favreau's. But it's still in that universe if Favreau's going to be involved.
I think episode 5 might have been the one that was Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, it was.
Because I know Rodriguez's episodes were the ones that wound up being like the worst episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of that, I think, is script, and part of it is just probably Rodriguez.
Yeah. So what do you think of CGI Mark Hamill?
We're skipping over episode 5. You want to go right to 6, or are we just talking about overall?
I think we can just talk about the 3 interchangeably.
Okay. I thought he looked a lot better than he did at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. I thought he looked a lot more like Mark Hamill, and I had so like you can't help but when you see like a young Mark Hamill show up on screen to like scrutinize it.
Yeah.
And I thought it held up fairly well to being scrutinized, except for his presence just didn't feel like right. Like the way he like carried himself and just like the way he interacted with the other characters, like it felt a little off. But like visually, I didn't think there was a whole lot wrong with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was like one pause, like I forget which. I think him interacting with Grogu, and there was like a awkward like pause. I'm like, how is there an awkward pause when you have a fucking computer? Like, just fix this. Otherwise, like it looks like decent, but it like I don't know. I would prefer they just got like Sebastian Stan or somebody else, like a younger actor, to just play this role versus having a computer do the dialogue and deep faking Mark Hamill's face onto somebody else's body.
There was like subtle like emoting that I thought were really gave it away. Like it was like Uncanny Valley type of, I guess, situations, especially with the dubbing. Like there was one part that I noticed when him and Ahsoka were talking, where like his mouth was moving in sync with what he was saying, but it didn't match up completely perfectly, and it looked weird. Like it looked like almost like there was like a lag, or like in a video game, like where something lags or something like that. That's kind of what it looked like, and I was like, oh, that didn't look good. And there was a few moments like that on top of like just small little touches, like with his eyes and stuff, that didn't really do it for me. That kind of took me out of it. But I mean, it was believable, but I still think I agree with you, Murph. Like Sebastian Stan would have definitely been a good pick. I'm surprised they just haven't done it. It's not like they don't have a relationship with him at this point as an actor.
I think they'd rather just not pay someone.
But that's going to cost a lot of money, what they're doing. Like, I can't imagine.
Probably doesn't cost as much as hiring a talent.
Maybe.
I'm assuming Mark Hamill's getting like something for this, right?
I don't. Yeah, maybe. I have no idea.
It's his like.
I think he
seems happy about it. So
right. That's why I think like if he's gonna be happy about it, you assume like they've got to
definitely not. Yeah, he's definitely not getting fucked over.
No, I imagine like he is getting some type of payment because it's his likeness, just as an actor, like Actors Guild or whatever. Like I don't think they can do that without giving him some type of monetary payment.
But with the computer, like they have complete control over this character now. Like they don't have to worry about an actor asking for raises or anything like that. So like long term, I get like that's what worries me. Like this slippery slope we're going down.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess none of us thought it was there yet. Where you're just like, oh wow, this is like they brought young Mark Hamill back, and it's like imperceptible the difference. But I really did think it was like a vast improvement over.
It was definitely a vast improvement
over the last episode of season 2. And watching the last episode of season 2, like there wasn't a lot. They didn't show Luke's face very much. So like the fact that they could show him as much as they did and have him talk and interact, I was impressed that they had come that far and that I'm guessing hiring that YouTube guy, like paid dividends on their ability to deep fake because it got significantly better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, the episode was very it was a nostalgic episode. If you were a really big fan, I think of Empire. You might have really liked that episode because it was basically like redid the Yoda stuff.
I enjoyed it for that reason. It did get me
just,
like a bit.
They just flipped the script.
He even had like the same backpack almost. Like,
oh yeah, it was 100% like except for imagine if Yoda is now, or like Luke is now Yoda and Yoda is now Luke, and then they just like that was the episode.
So is it safe to say now that we can reveal that Grogu is in this episode?
Yeah, it was safe to say it a long time ago.
Kate is asking. She's like dying to know. So now
Grogu's in 2 episodes. Grogu and Mando have been reunited. And,
I'm kind of annoyed. Like if we're talking across all 3, and I think it's going to be a little bit like schizophrenic for us to do that, but let's keep it going. Keep everyone on their toes. It was kind of weird or unsatisfying. Like I like the fact that in that 6th episode, Mando never like face to face interacts with Grogu, and like they didn't bring them together. And I was like, this is great. Like I'm glad they kept them separate and didn't have them reunite.
Yeah.
And then just to delay it for 1 episode, I was like, well, that wasn't worth it. Like,
I knew.
15 minutes later, they're back together.
I knew it wasn't going to happen. The way that they ended that episode, I'm like, oh my god, this is just such a cock tease to get people to watch the finale.
At least like carry it to season 3.
I mean,
the big emotional moment of the Book of Boba Fett season finale is the Mandalorian and Din Djarin and Grogu getting back together. Like
that's madness.
It really is. Flesh out like the story between Cad Bane and Boba Fett. Like they had like their one scene together.
They did Cad Bane dirty, I thought. I mean, I'm like not a Cad Bane fan because I never watch Clones, but like he seemed like an interesting character.
He's
and like
cool.
I liked his scene when he shows up for the first time and has that big Western duel scene.
I was
like, cool, you're introducing this character. He's got a lot of backstory. Like, I'm sure they're gonna like use him a lot. He's gonna be way more involved. Maybe he's like the one really pulling the strings on this, and then like he's in that last episode for like not very long, and then they just like kill him, I think. I don't know. I heard there was like some beeping after he falls that suggests that he still may be alive.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, based on the outcry, I imagine he'll still be alive. Like, people don't want him to be dead yet.
Because like he didn't do anything. Like, I guess if you watch,
he didn't even kill Timothy Oliphant. He was chilling in that Bacta tank or whatever it's called.
Yeah, well, that was goofy. Credits. That was goofy too, because he had like when he got shot in that 6th episode, it didn't seem like it was a killing shot.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just like, he's dead. I was like, what? Like he died, and like they didn't sell the fact that he died because like he got shot. It didn't seem like it wasn't like the other guy that got shot like 6 times. The like, hey, I'm this like new deputy, and I'm this character that you've never met before, and I'm clearly he exists here to get shot by Cad Bane. Yeah. That character, he got shot like 6 times, and it was like, all right, he's dead. But like Cobb Vanth got shot once. It like wasn't the head; it was like his arm or something. He fell down. Like he didn't really look dead. Didn't really like make it this dramatic moment, and so it was just like bizarre.
It was like, oh, he's gonna be back.
Yeah, and it was like bizarre in the 7th episode where they were just like, "Oh yeah, he passed away. Like he's gone." And it was like, "What? How did that happen? How did he die from that?"
I heard about that. I was like, "What?"
It was just like it. Like And then as we're going to continue spoiling this, and then the big reveal at the end of the episode, like you said, was that he was in the back tank, and he's like, that I guess is healing him back to life, and so he's not really dead. But it was like, I don't know. It didn't really, like everything in that episode, it didn't carry any weight, because I was just like confused at how he died to begin with, when he didn't seem like he was dead, and they didn't make it an emotional moment. So I don't know. That was goofy. There's so many goofy things about that last episode that just drove me crazy. The biker gang never gets good. They just suck the entire time.
I missed their episode, so I was like, who are these jabronis that are just like look completely out of place in this
you were expecting them to actually get better?
I don't think you like introduce these characters, you like shove these characters down our throats that like don't really make sense in this like world. Like they just from like the bikes, you're just like, what the hell who's like driving around Tatooine in these like bright ass like shiny bikes? Like they just like doesn't fit in. They're all like British punk, which doesn't really fit in with like the rest of that world. It's just like goofy. But those characters wind up being like horrible.
They look like they came out of Hill Valley in 2015.
It's horrible. I don't know how they thought those characters would fit, or what they were trying to do by introducing those characters, but they suck. The girl biker is the one that's when they're under attack, or they think they're going to be under attack, they're like, oh, let's go back to the fortress and fortify. And she's like, no, let's stay in this shell of a building that has no protection whatsoever. Let's stay here. And then Boba's like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. And they stay there. And so like that was their like the biker gang's contribution, is they like talked Boba Fett into a horrible strategy of laying low in this undefensible position when they could have easily gone back to the fortress.
Also about it being called the Book of Boba Fett, Boba Fett versus Cad Bane wasn't even the end of the fucking fight scenes, like of the battle. It ended up being Mando versus the Rancor at the end. He didn't even get to end his fucking show. The show ends on Mando and Grogu flying away.
Does end on Mando and Grogu.
Like, what is the point of? Oh God, just call it Mando 2.5.
Yeah, it should have just been called The Mandalorian Presents.
Yeah,
some random like, shit with Boba Fett.
The misadventures of, I don't know, not the Book of Boba Fett. It had nothing to do with them.
I don't know. Yeah. Anything else about this episode? People seemed happy with Ahsoka and Luke talking, or about these episodes, since she obviously had the relationship with Anakin, and now she finally had a scene with Anakin's son.
What was the end credit scene? Because I heard there was one.
Cobb Vanth coming back.
Are you kidding me? They in an end credit scene? What did I dare ask? What was it?
We said we said already. He was in the back to tank, showing that he was still alive.
And the cyber enhancement guy is there, and like they imply that he's gonna enhance.
Yeah, I didn't know that somehow. I missed his episode, so I didn't know who that guy was.
I missed
like a rapper that like is horrible at acting, that they had to do a cameo, and he was like the guy that can do cyber enhancements for like the cyber enhanced biker.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah. But like right before the end credits was like the end scene where just Mando and Grogu just like flying off, having fun, hanging out. What's her fate? Shand?
Yeah. Fennec
Shand.
Yeah.
She had like a random scene where she just like fucking murders like all the leaders.
She is a terrible character. Terrible.
I mean, she's fucking exposition. That's her character.
Yeah.
Oh my God, awful.
But like her scene was kind of badass. I thought it was Boba at first, and I was like, oh, they like finally like gave Boba
Why would
a
Boba do
badass
something
scene.
cool?
I don't know, but like all the leaders are like together, like hanging out. They like backstab Boba, and they all just get like straight up murdered. The one guy that's like the governor or whatever, like a rope comes down. It like pulls him up, and you see his legs dangling until they just like stop dangling, and he's like,
Yeah, I was like, that was kind of fucked up. Why don't you just shoot him like the rest of them? Why do you have to like torture this guy?
and he like dies, and you're just like, holy shit, Boba Fett just like finally like grew some balls and killed these people, and then it's Fennec Shand is the one that did it after all, and Boba didn't really do anything that was like that cool. I guess his best scene was with his best scene was with Mando, when they were both like jetpacking together and fighting some guys. But I thought they had done that already in season 2.
Season 2,
and then I don't know. The rocket is kind of like corny to me. I get like you had to explain how the rocket on his back works, but like it just doesn't really like work for me that the character has to like bend over to shoot fire or anytime he wants to fire a rocket from his back. It's just like doesn't look cool to me. It's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
It was like a suit design, and then no one ever thought about like what would happen if we had to shoot a rocket from this guy's back.
True. Speaking of better weapons, Mando the Darksaber was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good pull out.
Especially like in that first episode where he comes in swinging, and I mean he kind of sucks with it, but it was still pretty cool.
Well, they make it seem like not everyone can wield it. Well, you can't, right? Like you have to like kill the person for it, and then it's like alive somewhat.
Well,
like
it's alive for him because he beat Gus Fring, Giancarlo Esposito with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, like
it's like the Elder Wand in Harry Potter, essentially.
That's
So yeah, he's got the Elder Wand, but he still has to learn how to properly wield it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Mando had like a great entrance to the Book of Boba Fett. I think it like really highlighted how like sucky Boba was when Mando just like comes in and just like starts just like he's just like a bounty hunter. Like he's what you expected Boba to be, where he's just like you can come in warm or you can come in cold. And then he like winds up killing the guy, like just straight up murdering the guy and cutting off his head.
Yeah, he's
just like
the fucking bounty hunter, like Boba Fett's supposed to be.
Yeah. And so like that was just like, wow, this is so much cooler than.
And his armor is so much cooler. Like I don't know what Boba Fett's armor sucks on these shows compared to the movies.
He's got his dress.
I don't know if it's the dress that he's wearing. It's definitely part of it. It just doesn't work with the rest of the outfit. And then it seems like pieces are missing. I don't know. It's just not cool like it was.
Yeah, I think he's like too big for the armor is the problem.
Stupid.
I think that's like we're talking about like actors. They probably should have recasted that role too. It probably should have been somebody younger because he's supposed to be a lot younger.
That's the problem when he's a goddamn clone and he's going to be he's going to have to be in everything for the rest of the time.
No, they could just deep fake him now.
Well, yeah. Exactly.
But like he's still supposed to be like a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
And he's like not supposed to be anywhere near as old as he is. I mean, we're only talking he's like only a few years out from the Sarlacc pit, right?
Yeah, like what, 5 years maybe? Is it even 5?
I don't. Yeah, I think it's 5 years. Mandalorian takes place about 5 years after.
And then the flashbacks were like right after the Sarlacc. He fell into the Sarlacc pit, and so like he should have looked somewhat similar to that, but no, he's like old.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know. I think they probably could have recast somebody that was younger.
Yeah, because what was he in Clone Wars? Like 10 years old, maybe. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he was 15, a young 15, a very young looking 15-year-old. So then you got 20 years between Return of the Jedi between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So then he'd be 35 years old. Then add another 5 years for the Jedi to Mandalorian, so 40 years old. We'll say there's 5 years between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. So what would that be? 50 years old at this point? And then there's what's the gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith? I think the age kind of actually works out.
Isn't it 20 years?
Nah. No. I think it's 3 years between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So he'd be 50-something years old.
Oh, Attack of the Clones. Okay.
Well, what's Tamara Morrison? I will say 50-something.
He's probably in his 50s.
I think he's supposed to be a lot younger. I think he aged Boba.
All right, so let's say he was 10 years old in Attack of the Clones.
It says he's supposed to be about 41. And in Book of Boba.
25, 28. Okay.
Someone already did the math.
All right, fine. They did the math, and so yes, he definitely looks bad for his age.
He's been through a lot.
That's true. That's true. He has been through a lot. All right. Yeah. Anything else to talk about with this show, or can we just move on to Obi-Wan? We should get a trailer for that this weekend. Thank God. And the poster already looks better than the Book of Boba Fett as a whole. So I'm pumped for that.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna get a trailer for during the Super Bowl? Is that basically
Probably
confirmed?
Yeah, I'd be shocked if we don't get it.
Typically, you get a trailer days after a poster. So
cool.
If there's a prop bet on Super Bowl trailers, and I could bet that Obi-Wan's gonna appear, I would take that bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so would I.
But yeah, I mean, Deborah Chow did a great job on Mando. And I don't know who's writing Obi-Wan?
Not sure. But I know it's
not Favreau.
Not Jon Favreau.
It's not Favreau. I remember looking. I'm trying to think what they did prior. They did some notable things. But it's definitely not anyone involved with Favreau, the Favreau camp. So we didn't get. I forgot to ask. We didn't get Harrison Ford. That rumor,
no,
right? No Harrison Ford. No Kira. Kira, is that her name?
Nope. No Kira. But it wouldn't make sense actually with Emilia Clarke because it would be 30 years after Solo. Or what? No, wait, never mind. It'd be these fucking timelines are confusing me now. 10 years after, 15 years after Solo, maybe. So yeah, you could still have her. I keep forgetting when
significantly older.
These timelines are getting really confusing. Maybe she could be on Obi-Wan because I think that would take place the same time as Solo. And in that, I don't think you can DH Harrison Ford to look like. No. You'd have to get the other dude if you were to use someone in that.
Yeah.
So
you don't think they would just DH him?
I don't know if they can.
You'd have to DH him earlier than American Graffiti. It'd be before he was ever famous. You'd have to DH him that young.
Yeah, that would be. They might as well at that point.
It would essentially be Harrison Ford in 1970. Is what you're looking for there.
If they got him into New Hope age, you'd be like, that's close enough.
I guess. No, I wouldn't. I'd be like, why did this man not age at all in 10 years? Like, you just made a prequel movie about him where he looks a bunch younger. Why aren't you just using that guy?
Maybe they could do like what they do in Peacemaker, where they just like they keep him old, but they throw like a wig on them so that he like there's just old Harrison Ford with like a brown wigger.
Oh my god,
it's an idea. But yeah, no Harrison Ford. Maybe he'll be in Mandalorian season 3. Since if he was on set, like when did they say he was on set? Seemed like it was sort of like basically done back to back.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it actually could have been, because it was towards the end of filming Book of Boba Fett that people started to like, that rumor came out. So maybe he was on the set, but they weren't filming Boba yet, or they weren't filming Boba at all. They were filming Mandalorian.
I mean,
maybe
the entire cast of Mandalorian was on the set, so
yeah,
there's no reason they couldn't have shot something for Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's a good call.
They've got to be shooting Mando by now, right?
Yeah.
Well, they've been, yeah.
And then Endor, there was that discussion that they're already like on season 2.
Yeah, they're done filming that first one. So yeah, we're getting Obi-Wan
and filming the second one. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that, but
yes, Skarsgård, I guess, let it drop that they were like, he's already filming season 2, so they're like, season 1 hasn't come out yet, and
all their eggs in the Andor basket. All right.
So hopefully that means it was good.
A prequel to a prequel. What a novel idea for the TV show.
So is it safe to say we probably won't get season 2 of Book of Boba Fett?
I hope not.
I don't think there are safe bets when it comes to predicting what fucking Disney's going to do with that with their streaming platform.
I heard a rumor that like scares me about the future of Boba.
Oh god.
Which is that like Boba's being set up to be like the hero of Mandalore. And like he's gonna wield the Darksaber. And like,
why? So Mando can just go hang out with Grogu somewhere?
Yeah, I guess Mando and Grogu can go to like a beach, just drink pina coladas. I don't know why. I hope that they realize that people don't care about Boba Fett, and like making him this like huge character is probably not a great idea. But
they're not doing a good job at making him a like an interesting character. They're doing a terrible job. Almost like they're doing it on purpose. I don't know.
Also, we now have to wonder,
do we?
If Mando, so if Jin is the Mandalorian, or if it's really Grogu, because Grogu is now a Mandalorian as well.
Oh, because he's got the armor.
He's got the armor, and Jin said that he's a foundling. He's a Mandalorian foundling.
Yeah, he did say that.
So he's gonna get like a little jetpack and like a little suit and stuff.
I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're going with this.
Because he just has his chainmail, his Mandalore chainmail, right? That he has right now.
Yeah, he got the.
He looks like Bennett in Commando.
Oh my god, I'm totally watching this episode now. After this.
All right, I think we got to move on from this topic. all I'm doing is shitting on it. So if people like it, they're probably not enjoying this segment. Any last words, or can we move on to our feature presentation?
I think so.
Yeah, we can move on.
Then let's get into our top 10 films of 2021. So Corey, Doug, and I, we each ranked our top 10. What we're going to do is start from 10 and up, going from each of us. So Corey will start with his 10th pick, then Doug with his 10th, then myself. There is definitely a bunch of overlap. So each of us will contribute to conversations about the movies. When we hit that movie on our list, we'll just mention it and then go past it because the conversation has already been accomplished for that movie. we'll start with some honorable mentions. These are ones that were kind of like experimental or like documentaries, comedy specials, things like that we didn't feel worked in like a top 10 of like narrative features. So what we got on here is we've got Bo Burnham's Inside. So this was probably my favorite piece of content overall in 2021. But it's definitely more on the soundtrack is what I definitely listened to a ton more than I actually watched the special. But it's something super creative and is always going to remind people who watch it of the pandemic era. Then we've got a couple from Billie Eilish. We have The World's a Little Blurry, her Apple TV Plus documentary, which was a really in-depth one that covered the making of her debut album. And then Happier Than Ever, A Love Letter to Los Angeles, which was a Disney Plus concert special. Super creative one that had a lot of animation, so it definitely felt like it made sense with Disney, despite the fact that her lyrics don't necessarily vibe with Disney. Then we had Woodstock 99, Peace, Love, and Rage. We talked about this earlier in the year as well. It was a HBO documentary film about Woodstock 99 and just how much of a shit show it was. So as people who remember it when it took place, it was a wild ride going back to it. It felt like going in a time machine. Then we've got Zack Snyder's Justice League. Didn't feel right putting this on a top 10 since it was a reimagined movie of something that came out like 5 years ago, but significantly better. What was it, 6 parts total? The movie, like a 4-hour 6-part movie. Six chapters.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I've watched that there all the way through. So
yeah, I think it was 6 or 7 chapters.
I don't really remember it in chapters, but
yeah, I just took each chapter to like get a refill of a drink or like take a piss. But yeah, I watched it all the way through as well. And yeah, we all liked it. It was a very good superhero movie. Then we've got the Fear Street trilogy. So this was a pretty cool experiment. 3 films, all released over a course of 3 weeks on Netflix. That had 3 separate stories, but one overlapping story. Pretty cool novel concept. The Rescue documentary about this was Doug the Chilean.
I think it was Thailand
or Thailand.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Those 13 kids that wound up, they were on a field trip to go into a cave. The monsoon season wasn't for another month. The monsoon season comes early, and the kids are trapped in the cave, and so it just follows the story of how, like, against basically impossible, like unlikely odds. I mean, if you're familiar with that story, they wound up getting all the kids out, but like the way they did it, and like I don't know, just hearing it on the news, I thought like it was just well coordinated and they had everything under control. But that documentary, you see like how out of control things are, and they got to fly these amateur cave divers in from like Europe, like the English country, to come in and dive because the military can't navigate the caves because they're so hard to see. And it's probably one of the best documentaries I've seen. I was so shocked that it wasn't nominated at all for the Oscars because I thought this was great. I guess it just hasn't gotten. It's on Disney Plus, and I guess I kind of just found it by happenstance. I haven't heard a lot of buzz about it, but it's really good.
I've been wanting to watch it.
I think Ron Howard's making or has already made a feature-length film, like narrative, that comes out at the end of 2022 about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is cool because like, they've got the footage from when it was on the news, and then they had like cameras. People were filming with their phones and stuff, like as it was happening, and as they were like trying to rescue the kids, and it's just it's wild. The whole story is just it's intense. Even knowing like that they're all gonna make it out, it's pretty crazy. And they got really lucky. It's like skill met luck.
Yeah. And then our last one is The Beatles Get Back. This was one that was originally supposed to be just a feature film. Then it was turned into a 3-part documentary, like miniseries type event on Disney Plus. It's about the Beatles making the Let It Be album. Corey, anything you want to add about it since you threw this on here?
Yeah. This was, I mean, kind of like Inside for you, Murph. This was probably one of my favorite things that I watched, content-wise this year, and which is pretty crazy for how long it is. It's, I think, pushing 9 hours, 8 or 9 hours worth of content. I watched it twice, and I've gone back and watched segments of it multiple times, and the remarkable thing that Peter Jackson did with this is that he really made it. I mean, I've never seen the original, but it's so much new footage that he archived footage that he restored, and the way that he put it together, it really, really made you feel like you were sitting there with them as they were creatively coming up with all these iconic songs and working through the personal issues that I guess they were going through at the time as a band, and just as like between 23 and 27 years old, which was insane. At this point, they were basically at the end of their Beatles career, and their lives were basically just starting, like they were very young. So that was really amazing aspect of it. So I mean, if you're not a Beatles fan, I think like you would like some of it, but as a fan of the Beatles, and just their music, it's a really cool experience. It's like being in a time capsule. So I really enjoyed it, a lot. Definitely one of my favorite things that I've watched this year. I highly recommend it.
Alrighty. Well, let's get into our top 10 then. Corey, would you like to kick it off with your number 10?
Yeah, sure. So I went with Nightmare Alley. Murph and I just recently saw this with a group over the past couple weeks, and this was something that was right up my alley because I really like film, like
Pun
noir.
intended.
Right up my alley. Yeah. Actually, I didn't do that on purpose, but but just as a noir film, like mystery, I enjoy those types of films. And it was believable in a lot of ways, and it was kind of a rehash type of story, I think. But the acting and the characters were really interesting. That it was a very fun, type of experience. Guillermo del Toro did a great job as always with the set design and the editing. And Bradley Cooper was, as usual, really, really fantastic. But yeah, that was what I had. What do you guys have anything to say about it? Because I know both of you have seen it. Murph, you saw it already.
Yeah, both of us saw it. Doug watched it, I believe, on Hulu or HBO Max.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with this one. The trailers didn't. I wanted to always see it, like when I heard about it, but the trailers really didn't do much for me. But I was invested in the story the entire time. Thought Bradley Cooper did a great job as the lead. Had twists and turns, some predictable, but the payoff from those predictable twists were still solid enough where it was very enjoyable. Yeah, it dealt with some dark stuff, seedy underbelly of society, but was something that I could see myself going back to.
Yeah, I think this one will have rewatchability for me too. I'm actually kind of want to rewatch it again. Just kind of thinking about it. It's a very as Guillermo del Toro movies are, very visually like pleasing. Like I enjoy watching his movies. I don't think this is any exception. The carnival stuff looks really great. There's that scene where he goes into like that fun house that I thought was just like awesome. I like the kind of the subject matter they deal with, where there's like the circus acts, and it's all an act, and it's just a matter of kind of getting people to believe it. And I like
it was more when carnivals were like, I don't know, kind of, I don't even know how you would describe it. Like seedy, I guess would be the word. Like they weren't things that like kids like necessarily would always be going to, or if they did, it would be like to get like a darker type of thrill than what kids would get out of going to a circus or carnival nowadays.
Yeah, and it's about creating this like illusion for people where you're like, oh look, we've got the world's strongest man, and we've got this woman that has this ability where she can electricity just passes through her and doesn't harm her at all, and we've got this fortune teller. And so I like the fact that it's kind of starts you in this place, and then the story kind of builds off of that in an interesting way, I thought. And I thought they had a ton of great actors in that movie, and it was acted really well. I could have seen Bradley Cooper being nominated for his performance. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Great cast all around, with like Toni Collette, Willem Dafoe, Rooney Mara, Cate Blanchett, Richard Jenkins, like stacked cast. Everyone gave it their all.
I thought also for how long it was, because it was probably 2.5 hours, I'd say, give or take, that it did feel long, but it didn't overstay its welcome. Like I was still like completely grabbed until the end, and it kept me interested. But I guess that's just the characters were well done, and the story was engaging, through right to the end for me.
Yeah. I heard there's a director's cut, or not that there's a director's cut, but I heard a lot of stuff got cut, and so I'm hoping there will be a director's cut with some more stuff.
This is not an original story, right? This is based on a book.
Yeah, and it's already been adapted.
Yeah, there's another movie called Nightmare Alley. Yeah,
interesting.
Which I guess is more of a traditional film noir than this was.
Right.
All right, Doug, you want to go with your number 10?
Sure. If you guys saw this sheet while I was working on it, I had a hard time deciding what to put number 10, because there was a lot of movies that kind of just fell right towards the end of my list. But I wound up giving it to Suicide Squad. I don't know if part of it is because I've been watching Peacemaker and really enjoying it, and it's starting to boost Suicide Squad for me. A part of me wants to, once Peacemaker's over, go back and watch it and see if it does anything for the Peacemaker character for me. But overall, I thought this was a pretty fun movie. I think Gunn has a fun spin on the superhero genre. And there was a lot of interesting characters in this movie. And it was just kind of nice to see something that was so different than what we're getting with Marvel and with DC and all these other movies. It just kind of felt like its own unique James Gunn thing. And I enjoyed it. I've come back and seen it a couple times, and it's funny. It's not. I think I wanted this movie to be like towards the top of my list, and I was disappointed that it probably falls towards the end, but it was still, I think, an overall strong movie. And one of the better things that was a day and date release for sure on HBO Max, because there was a lot of stuff that just sucked day and date, and this was one I was happy to get and watch.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was definitely a fun ride. A million times better than the original one. I think I actually like Peacemaker more than the Suicide Squad. which I didn't expect going into these two things. I would have thought Peacemaker would have been like a secondary type thing, but I think James Gunn even made that one more James Gunn than the movie, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, all the new characters they introduced were a blast. What do we got? Well, we got, or can't think of the characters' names right now, but Idris Elba.
There's Ratcatcher 2.
Yeah, Ratcatcher 2.
Death something.
Polka Dot Man. Yeah,
King Shark.
He's the one I can't think of his name. Idris Elba.
No, not
Deathstroke.
I can't remember his name either.
I liked him, but
yeah. King Shark was good.
Deadshot.
Deadshot.
Was that it?
I think so. Wasn't it?
Are you sure that wasn't that Will Smith's character, Deadshot?
Yeah, that was Will Smith's character. Not
something that's similar.
Can't remember this guy's name. Bloodsport.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I mean that movie was like, I mean I haven't watched Peacemaker yet, so knowing that show is more James Gunn than the movie, which is kind of surprising to me because that movie was like felt like James Gunn off the rails, which I loved. And you could tell that he loved those characters and loved, what he was doing. Like seeing what he did, like actually bring Starro the Destroyer, which is like one of the most ridiculous villains in comic books, and like making that villain still ridiculous, but pretty terrifying. And, it worked like really, really well. That could have very easily been really hammy, and it wasn't. So, yeah, I thought he did a great job on that. So, I mean, even with Peacemaker, I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to just binge it over the next couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, Peacemaker's really good. I definitely recommend it. I guess I could see where you're saying it's more James Gunn. Peacemaker definitely is like, James Gunn seems to really like music. And so Peacemaker definitely embraces that more.
Yeah, and I think even the humor is more like early James Gunny and like the gross out stuff, with the butterflies and things like that. Like remind me of Slither and but yeah, we'll talk more about Peacemaker next week, or on our next episode. Number 10 for me is King Richard, another HBO Max movie. This one was, if you're not familiar, was Will Smith starring as Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena Williams, and the crazy lengths that he went to make sure they ended up being two of the greatest tennis players of all time. Came down to his performance for this one, with the movie being as high as it was. I mean, I'm a pretty big tennis fan, so it was something I was already like interested about watching, but his performance was like absolutely stellar. And along with John Barenthal as well. He was somebody that I would have liked to see get noticed more throughout the award season for doing something completely different than what he usually does.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was, of all the movies on my list, this is probably like the most, well, other than the animated ones. All right, I'm lying. Well, of all the dramas on my list, this is the one that's definitely the most like mainstream, like positive, feel good type sports. Like I don't even know what I'm saying right now. It is a very good movie. Just watch it. Doug, you saw it.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. I think I find the biopics to get like kind of draining at times because they tend to follow like a similar format where
totally
there's like adversity and then they overcome their adversity and then either they like it follows them long enough where it tails down and like they fall back into their they become their own undoing, or it like ends before they become their own undoing. This kind of followed that format, but at least I thought like the Richard Williams character is like, you like kind of root for him, but he's also like, you're like, this guy's not a good person. Like, just like some of the stuff he does, like you admire the fact that he like is trying to do everything for his kids, or at least it seems they portray it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly what the real Richard Williams was like. But he's also got like a lot of traits where he's like a little unlikable. There's times where it seems like he could advance his kids by following these coaches' advices or putting them in like the bigger tennis tournaments. And it seems like he's kind of like self-sabotaging at times. But I mean, I agree. I think it was the best thing about that movie, although I think the story was pretty good, is that Will Smith, it just becomes a different person. And he's really just feels like a character. You kind of forget it's Will Smith. So he does a great job. And then when you brought this movie up, I was thinking like, oh yeah, John Barenthal should have probably got, like, it would have been cool if he would have gotten nominated, because he was another character like just like Will Smith, where you just kind of forgot that it was John Barenthal after a while. But yeah, it's definitely a good movie. People probably have HBO Max. You could watch it for free.
Is it back on there for free already?
I don't know. Is it not? Am I telling people to watch it for free and it's not free animore?
It might not be. It'll be
45-day window is over. Yeah. It might already be. Yeah, it's probably already back on there. I think it comes on 90 days after.
I feel like I watched this movie like an eternity ago, so
I still have to watch it.
Or if it's not, it will be on there in another like week or so.
Yeah, I mean, HBO Max has got, like, if you haven't been watching some of the movies on there, I mean, Nightmare Alley's on there, King Richard, Suicide Squad, like, they've got like a nice little library. Last Duel is on there. Yeah, I was surprised at how fast Last Duel popped up on there. Yeah, it's a nice little library. So check out our sponsor, HBO Max, when you get a chance.
All right. Well, thank you for jumping in and saving me as I was mumbling nonsense. But you want to go into your number 9 then, or Corey?
Yeah, sure. So I went with Nia DaCosta and Jordan Peele's horror joint remake, Candyman. So this one I was looking forward to for a while. I mean, the movie was supposed to come out in 2020, right? And it got delayed a year, and it was well worth the wait. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it elevated the Candyman character to new heights. The character was always interesting, but those movies always were like really, really weird B-movie horror. And they took the character and really made it a lot like more important, and just kind of elevated it for the times. And, you know, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II was fantastic. He really embodied like that character and like that his downward spiral that he went through the beginning to the end of that movie. And the supporting cast was also really, really great. The biggest thing for me also was like and I guess because Jordan Peele is involved, like the music was also really well done. And the editing, it felt like a Jordan Peele film in a lot of ways. But I will be interested to see DaCosta's next film, and I think Marvels, which is going to be. So I'm interested to see like if that talent will continue, like it'll translate into other genres. But I would also like to see more like horror, or even another, maybe another Candyman trilogy, if possible. Because the way this one ended, it did leave it open, but not like in your normal conventional way. if you haven't seen it, and I definitely recommend it. It's unique in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't as high on it as you were. I did enjoy it. But I think the reason why I wasn't as why I didn't like it as much as I was expecting to is because it really wasn't much of a horror movie. It was more like a drama. So the trailers were kind of misleading. And I watched the original Candyman like shortly before seeing this one, and I didn't really dig that one too much either. I enjoyed the new one more, but I think it's one horror series that just doesn't work for me. Like it's a weird villain as far as horror goes. The mythology is a little. It's not a traditional type of like slasher villain or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. This was. I don't know how I felt about this movie.
Oh, I didn't even know you watched this one.
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, you did?
Was,
Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know you did.
It was it was fine. Like there was just stuff that kind of was weird for me. One, like I don't know how scary a villain is if you have to like say Candyman 3 times in a mirror. Like that kind of just like, all right, I just don't have to go in front of a mirror, and like there just happened to be a lot of stupid people that were just like, oh, let me like go in front of a mirror and say this guy's name 3 times and he'll pop up. Like I don't know. And like he was like overpowered.
If that was a thing in real life though, it would there'd be so many deaths.
But like once people start dying, you're not just
I think people would still do it. People would say it's bullshit, it's not real.
Yeah.
And they would do it.
100%.
We live in the dumbest society. It would absolutely happen.
I don't know. It was good. But like once you say it, like it didn't seem like you like died pretty quick. You didn't really like torture you too much. You're just like it
seemed pretty painful with a lot of them. But
I don't know. It didn't seem that bad.
I prefer not to be murdered with a hook, but yeah, I guess there's worse ways to go.
Yeah, like Freddy and like some of those other guys, it's like way worse. He seemed like some of those people died pretty quickly. The hand thing I thought was weird with Yaya, where like his hand was like rotting, and he was just like, it's just a flesh wound. It's like
might want to get that checked out, bro.
Well, it started out as a bee sting, right? It was a bee sting, and then like his whole hand started to like swell and rot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's just like, I'm just gonna like pick at it. Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. There's like some weird stuff, but I was just like, oh, that was fine. That was a fine movie. I can see why you liked it. It's just like probably wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean it definitely wasn't scary. It was more thought-provoking than I thought it was going to be, and it was gruesome also in ways that I wasn't expecting, but I could definitely see people going either, one way or the other. So.
All right, Doug, number 9.
Oh, how do I talk about this movie?
I'm very, very interested.
I don't have a lot to say about this movie. You have to it's kind of one of those things that are just like, you gotta see it to know about what it is. But I put Pig on my list. If you're not familiar with this movie, it's a Nick Cage movie. He stars in it as this guy who's kind of like a recluse with his pig, who's a truffle pig. And so what's unique about this pig is this pig can sniff out like truffles, and then Nick Cage can collect the truffles and sell them and make money. It kind of like turns into like a trippy like Taken story where like the pig is missing. Someone took the truffle pig, and Nick Cage has to like track down the pig. And it's not like actiony like Taken. It's like it takes like a lot of weird twists and turns, and it's kind of like feels like kind of artsy, like some of the turns it takes. But you start discovering things about Nick Cage's character and why he's a recluse and why he hangs out with this pig and why this pig is so important to him. So it's an entertaining movie. If you haven't seen it, it's worth just like going down that rabbit hole
It's on my list. It's been on my list.
Kind of see what it is, but Nick Cage is good in it, and I enjoyed it. It was an entertaining movie. I think the uniqueness of it probably helped push it up on my list. Just because it's not a story that I've seen too often done about a missing truffle pig. So I recommend that you check it out if you haven't seen it.
The Nick Cage revival. It is interesting.
He's got a lot of really good movies he's done over the past like 2 years.
Yeah, it's a good. He does a really good job with the role. I thought it's a good Nick Cage role.
Well, all right. My number 9 film, we've already talked about it. It's Nightmare Alley. So I will move it right back up to you, Corey, with your number 8 film.
So I went with Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, for my number 8. And really one of the main things that I wanted to say about this is just how well done the action was. It felt very much like a traditional martial arts film. That seems like what they were trying to embody. And you haven't really seen that type of film in a very long time. At least I mean, I'm sure they're made, but I haven't seen a really well done one in a very long time. And for this to come out of like Marvel was very, very, very shocking. Like I did not expect this movie to be nearly as good as it was. And a lot of it was, the action was well done, and the acting by the whole cast was also phenomenal. Tony Leung was one of the standouts. He was the villain, and he was fantastic in every single scene that he was in. But I know, Doug, you were super high on this movie, so I'm gonna pass it off to you. You've been talking about this movie since it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I like this movie a lot. Don't get me wrong, like it's flawed. It's flawed, and so it's in that it still kind of sometimes falls too heavy into like the Marvel issues. I think like the ending gets a little like over the top and lost in itself, with like the dragons and when it just goes like batshit crazy. But there's so much good. There's so much I liked about this movie. Like you mentioned the fighting. I mean, that bus scene is like probably one of my favorite Marvel fight scenes because it just combines so many cool like things that you've seen in martial arts movies into one fight scene, and you've got like they do like a lot of the Jackie Chan stuff with like using like the code and using like different things in the bus to fight. And so I really like the fact that Marvel was in this movie was like, we've got this character we've already screwed up really bad with Iron Fist and made like a piece of trash. Like, let's get some people that really know and really love these martial arts movies. Let's get some people that are Chinese and know this culture well and let's get them together and let's make a really awesome movie that just kind of makes you forget about that piece of trash that was Iron Fist. And they did it, in my opinion, and they pulled it off. And there's a lot of great stuff. I think the villain is pretty good at where he's not like your typical villain. Like the father the father's like the villain of the movie, and he's not just like, I want to take over the world type of villain. He's got his reasons for why he's trying to do what he's trying to do, and they're somewhat noble reasons, or at least they could be seen as noble. So I thought that was interesting. The other scene that I thought was awesome about this movie, outside of the truck or the bus scene, was it was like a wushu fight scene, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type wire fighting, which was super cool too. Yeah, it was a good movie. It's on my list. Spoiler. But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, it paid homage to a lot of different martial arts movies, like specific ones. So if you're a fan of that genre and have seen a lot of the movies, the classics, the police stories, the Crouching Tigers, and anything else that's considered a classic, they most likely reference it in some way, shape, or form, either in the fighting or the way a scene is shot, edited. Like it's just very cool how they celebrated that style of filmmaking in this movie, which I thought was really, really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this movie was right outside of my top 10. As I said back in September, I think this is definitely the best solo introduction movie since Iron Man, which is a pretty huge feat. So yeah, let's get on to your number 8, Doug.
So my number 8, I did The Mitchells versus the Machines, which
not We're the Millers.
Not We're the Millers. So this was a movie that I had a lot of high expectations for because it was Sony Animation, which produced probably one of my favorite movies ever, Into the Spider-Verse. And I thought it was a really fun movie. I thought they did a good job of providing us with a unique story about family, and about kind of what it's. I thought the family relationship was interesting. It was a little bit complicated with the daughter who didn't really kind of fit in with the rest of her family, and kind of had grown apart from her parents. And so I liked kind of how watching that dynamic develop over the course of the movie, and how it's kind of seeing them kind of come back together as a family, to meet the overall crisis. And then the animation was super cool, super fun. Kind of had a little bit of a comic booky type feel to it, which is kind of just like Spider-Verse. So that was great. But yeah, the story just kind of felt like a Pixar level story, but with that unique Sony type of animation. And I really dug this one, and it didn't hurt that it was available on Netflix, and I didn't have to go anywhere to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret. I love this movie as well. I think when it first came out, I had said I wouldn't be surprised to see it right at the top of my list, or towards the top of my list. And spoiler alert, it is somewhere high on my list. You'll find out soon enough. But yeah, like you said, Doug, I mean, it was interesting because it's like a different type of family than you're used to in these animated films. I mean, they're completely like dysfunctional and everything like that. And they just get themselves in a crazy situation that brings them back together, and shows that even if you're different or whatever, you can still love each other and things like that, and just be a family. So yeah, this was one that I was very happy with, and like you mentioned, the animation played a huge part in that. They got the Spider-Verse team, which did wonders on that movie. I would have loved to see this one in theaters in 3D, similar to Spider-Verse, but alas, that did not happen because of COVID. Sony sold it to Netflix, but it was cool to be able to watch it as many times as I wanted right when it came out. So yeah, and shout out to Danny McBride, who did a great job as the father in the film. I thought he was the standout of the cast.
Yeah, he was really good. I didn't even realize it was him until afterwards.
Until after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My number 8 film, circling back to Marvel, it is not Black Widow. Black Widow did not make any of our top 10s.
Shocker.
Sorry, ScarJo. but it's Eternals. So we mentioned Zack Snyder's Justice League in the honorable mentions. Of all the Marvel films that have come out, I thought the film that this felt most similar to wasn't an MCU movie or another Marvel movie, but it was actually Zack Snyder's Justice League. The tone of it was very like epic scaled. It brought together a ton of heroes. I mean, there's 10 Eternals plus plenty of other supporting characters and villains. And they just did a great job, I thought, of developing the characters and making them not feel one-dimensional in a 2.5 hour period. I do not understand why this got trashed the way it did. I don't think I ever will. I think we'll probably have people reconsider what they thought down the road when they realize that like not every Marvel movie, MCU movie has to like be exactly the same. Like you gotta expand and do different things, which this movie did. And I know both of you guys had it on your list as well. So you want to share your thoughts?
I think I haven't watched the second time yet. I need to. But I agree with you. Like the movie really impressed me in ways that I was not expecting from a Marvel movie. It was very intelligent. It was very different. The characters were very well developed in a one movie, even if it's a long movie. It didn't feel long. Like it shot well. Everything. It was just really fantastic about it. But I think also people have already started to kind of rethink this movie already. I've seen it a little bit since it's come on Disney Plus. It's got like a cult following in a lot of ways. Maybe it's people that didn't go see it initially and are just watching it on Disney Plus for the first time and they're really liking it. Or people rewatching it. But since it's come on Disney Plus, I have seen people, speak more highly about it than trash it. And I agree with you. Like it doesn't make sense why it was trashed in the first place. I think maybe it's just because it was just so different and it was not what people were expecting. So, but Chloe Zhao did a fantastic job. Like it was a refreshing superhero movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's weird that like the three of us all like this movie, but like the internet seems to have almost unanimously like hated this movie.
It's bizarre.
And it's weird to me because like even if you didn't love it, like I can't see like why you could absolutely hate it because it was still like objectively like a decent movie. So I'm not really sure where people are coming from other than the fact like you said, Murph, like it just like didn't match the expectations that they had for the movie. But I thought it was really nice to get like out of the Atlanta or Georgia soundstage.
Yeah.
And like actually
be on location
like,
with nice cinematography and
yeah, I was like, all right, this is cool. Like I like just not like CGI everywhere. Like I can actually feel like they are in a place and it's not kind of like this amorphous, clearly backdrop, which is basically all of Black Widow is like CGI backdrop. A lot of Shang-Chi is that too. So I really enjoyed that. And then I just thought like there's a lot of talking. Like that's just a lot of the movie is like characters interacting and meeting up again. But I thought it was all fun. Like I thought like the conversations were interesting and they were like enjoyable.
Exactly. When you got that many characters, if they weren't talking, then characters wouldn't be fleshed out, and then I think the movie would have been disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely some flaws with Eternals. Like the deviants, I don't think like that plot line really worked for me. Like there's that deviant character that's has a plot line that doesn't really go anywhere and kind of fizzles out towards the end. And there were some other things like the fast girl that I don't remember her names. They all have names that like are really hard to remember.
Makari, I think that was her name.
They just like put her in like they sideline her for like the entire movie.
She didn't get much to do.
Which is just kind of probably a product of just them having too many characters. But yeah, overall, I thought this was an enjoyable movie. I walked into it like I almost didn't see it in theaters because of what the way the internet reacted to it. Actually, my wife is the one that kind of pushed and wanted to see it, and I was glad I did because I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was one that was worth seeing in theaters, just because of the cinematography. So yeah, it was good.
All right. Well, Corey, your number 7 was Eternals. So let's go right back to you, Doug, with your number 7 pick.
My number 7 is none other than Dune. Got to get that spice.
It's all about the spice.
All about the spice.
Just like Boba Fett's all about the spice.
Just like Boba Fett.
Spice is so hot right now.
That I'm restraining myself from going on to another rant about Boba Fett.
It's fair.
But yeah, this movie was Murph and I saw it in theaters together. I happened to consume some alcohol beforehand, so not
very tired during it.
Not 100% sober, but I loved it when I saw it in theaters, just because it's just like the atmosphere that Villeneuve is able to create with some of like the music, with the big shots that he does. He just like crushes sci-fi as far as atmosphere goes, and so I think to me that's the biggest thing I enjoyed about it. Story was interesting, and the acting was good, but we only got half of the movie. And so that's probably, I think if there's a second half and the second half delivers, like this could be probably as a full movie, like would probably have been way higher on my list, probably closer to 1 or 2 or 3. But as half of the movie, it was incomplete, and the story felt like it was just starting to build up, and then it kind of ends, which was unfortunate, but man, it's just such a visually awesome movie. I just really love the aesthetic, the way the ships are created, just the way things feel on the different planets. Just really well done.
For me, I also agree. But as you guys know, like I tried to reread the book for the first time in like a really long time before, and I finished it. And so going into the movie, I was expecting, I'm like, there's no way that they're going to be able to do this whole thing in one movie. And like, as it got closer, we found out, that it was going to be just the first half. So I was more interested in seeing how they were going to end it, like where, in comparison to the book, because there definitely were multiple places that they could have done it. And where they ended it was unexpected, but
out of nowhere.
Yeah. And very unexpected. But I think to your point, Doug, that once the first part was great, but it did end unexpectedly, which if they weren't going to do a second half, it would have been a disaster. But having the second part, which is going to end up being like, the best part of the series, because all the fun stuff happened in that second half of that story. So they built the characters. He took the time to flesh out this world for people that have never read the books or know the characters, which is great. That's what he decided he wanted to do. And the second half is going to complete the story. And I would be shocked if he doesn't nail it at this point. It's just like a tease at this. It's a cock tease, that
what a weird choice though. Like for the studio to be like, we're going to greenlight the movie that world builds everything, and then all the action and cool stuff is going to happen in this second movie that we're not going to greenlight.
I can understand why they did it, because there wouldn't have been any other way to make a movie. The only other way this would have worked, this story.
What do you mean? David Lynch did it.
It's that's
I'm
very
joking.
different. Yeah. I mean, that movie's amazing in its own right. But it's not very much like the story. Like it is, but it's that movie's just weird. But they would have to make it into a TV show, I think. Like to do it that way. I don't think they would be able to compact the whole story into one movie. It's just impossible. So I think like once they greenlit it, they probably knew immediately like that was the idea. He pitched it like I want to do 2 movies. First half is going to be all build up. I'm going to paint this whole world and the spice and the people and and then the second half we're going to blow the doors open. And that's I guess they agreed. A lot of money was put down on it for sure. That's a huge gamble, but I think it's going to pay off.
Yeah, it seems like it will already. I mean, based on how it did at the box office and how the reaction has been online, the Academy Award nominations, should see a bump for the second one.
I guess they had faith in him.
And hopefully be in non-COVID times.
Right, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
No guarantees. But we'll see. But yeah, something you guys haven't mentioned was the cast. I thought everyone gave really strong performances and made the characters interesting, whether it be Jason Momoa or Stellan Skarsgård or Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Timothy Chalamet, like everyone. Like I just picked the movie up on 4K yesterday. I'm excited to watch it again. Like Doug mentioned, the first time we saw it, I guess we were both fairly inebriated. So the second viewing was a lot better for me, and like I enjoyed it the first time, but I really liked it a lot the second time. The only thing that I didn't really dig is the score. I'm shocked that it got nominated for best score at the Oscars. I thought it was like a Hans Zimmer parody.
It's like a lot of ambient noise and Yeah, and I really wouldn't say it was a score.
And like the Wonder Woman like screaming.
Yeah, the chanting.
I don't know. Just that didn't do anything for me. But all right. Dune was my number 7 pick as well. So we'll move it right back up to you, Corey.
So going back to Marvel and the most Marvel of all the Marvel movies, other than probably Avengers, so No Way Home, Spider-Man, Murph's ace in the hole, in the draft for the fall. Yeah, this movie I've only seen once. I missed the boat on seeing it in IMAX. So I guess I'm gonna end up catching this on VOD when it comes out. But this was like everything you could have wanted from a multiverse Spider-Man movie. Like basically just doing like Spider-Verse live action. And they did it in such a way where they implemented all of these old characters, legacy characters from different Spider-Man universes, and brought them into this cohesive story that tied to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And it could have very easily failed and been, really, really muddled. And it wasn't. They did a fantastic job writing the script. And of course, like with any Marvel movie, like the action was amazing. So for me, I was wondering how they were going to do it, like what they were going to actually accomplish in this movie and how it was going to end, how Peter Parker was going to grow. Because for me, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, he's still not my favorite. But I think now there's potential for him to be my favorite version as things go on, because I wasn't really a fan of Spider-Man in training type of thing. Like it was getting old for me. Like everything was kind of given to him, it seemed like, in a lot of ways. But the past 2 movies were more or less like his origin story, and it was done in a different way. So I'm excited to see what they do with the character going forward. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, the movie was everything I hoped it would have been. Better than I was expecting. It was a ton of fun. I mean, bringing all the old villains back, bringing back Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. Movie. I wasn't a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I'd be down to see another one with Andrew Garfield now. So I mean, that alone is a big fucking win for Sony.
Yeah.
I hope we see more with Tobey Maguire. I'm pumped for more Tom Holland. Loved how things ultimately ended up for his character, whether it be Aunt May having the tragic death a la Uncle Ben, and then having to leave MJ and Ned behind, and then him just being all on his own, coming up with a new suit, and really becoming the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we know and love, that we never really got a chance of seeing in this trilogy. Because, like you said, he got everything sort of handed to him from Tony Stark from the moment we saw him in Captain America: Civil War. But yeah, and then I also thought they elevated the villains as great as they were. I thought Willem Dafoe was better in this than he was in Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Alfred Molina was just as good as he was in Spider-Man 2, which is an all-time great comic book villain in movie history. So it was awesome. Doug?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great event. I mean, you guys said, I think, most of what I would say about this movie. The Aunt May scene, I thought was gut-wrenching. Really well done how they pulled that off. And it's the only movie that I've seen this year where the movie ended, had a really big grin on my face, and I kind of was very tempted to just buy another ticket and sit back down and watch it again.
Yeah,
because it was just a fun ride, and I was shocked that it lived up to the enormous expectations that people had for it, and it's paid off handsomely for them because that movie just keeps printing money at this point. I mean, it's going to be one of the highest movies of all time. I mean, it is already one of the highest grossing movies of all time. So it's crazy. I'm sure we're going to get more Spider-Verse stuff. And as long as they do it well, I'm here for it.
Yeah. One last thought that I have, like, this movie blew the doors off, or blew the doors open for like the multiverse type of movies, and more importantly for Sony they could do a few more Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies if they want at this point, as long as people want them, and it wouldn't matter, and they could still keep doing what they're doing now, and it doesn't matter. So for them, I'm sure it's like, yes, let's keep doing this. So I'm sure they're going to. It's just going to be interesting to see if they can continue to make them at this quality. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else, Doug, about Spider-Man?
No. I think we kind of covered it. Yeah.
We've exhausted all Spider-Man talk.
Yeah, we've talked about Spider-Man a
lot over the past month.
Yeah.
And that's just because we all really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Doug, your number 6 was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So we will skip you and go to my number 6, The Last Duel. So big box office bomb, but a very well-made Ridley Scott medieval type movie with Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jodie Comer, and Adam Driver. This one was dark subject matter, dealing with Jodie Comer's character. Well, I'm not going to get into too much of the specific. Well, I don't know how do I explain this movie without like giving it away. Like, because you're dealing with 3%.
Yeah, I thought the trailer gives away what Jodie Comer is.
I guess the trailer does. You're dealing with Jodie Comer's character potentially being raped by Adam Driver's character, and then you're seeing the three perspectives. You're seeing Matt Damon's perspective, and he's Jodie Comer's husband in the movie. You're seeing Adam Driver's perspective, and then you're seeing Jodie Comer's perspective on what happened. So you're getting different views, angles of the two different stories from Matt Damon and Adam Driver, and then the truth from Jodie Comer. And ultimately, the reason why the movie's called The Last Duel is because you're dealing with Adam Driver and Matt Damon fighting about this claim, and whoever ultimately wins is going to determine whether Jodie Comer's character gets to live or die. So stakes are high, but despite this dark subject matter, it's still like a fun movie at the same time. Ben Affleck's character is pretty ridiculous the entire time he's on screen. I thought he was somebody who could have been nominated for like Best Supporting Actor. Jodie Comer certainly.
Netflix character?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was
like too goofy for me.
I thought his character was like did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely was a goofy character, but it worked with showing just how ridiculous like the times were, and how everything was so ass backwards. Jodie Comer certainly should have been nominated for Best Actress. And then, that fight at the end was pretty spectacular. Very reminded me of a lot of Gladiator. So Ridley Scott like 20 years ago. Anything that you guys want to add about the film?
I definitely thought like it was, and I think I mentioned this to you when we saw it, Murph, that I wasn't expecting the way the story was told. I was not expecting it at all. So like for the first like 25 minutes, half hour, I was like, what is going on? Like, how am I following this? And once the movie finished, I thought it was a brilliant way to do it because, it really built up the fight. Like, the conflict between Ben Affleck's character and Matt Damon's character deeply. So I thought that was like a really interesting way to tell the story.
All right. Let's go to our top fives then. Corey?
Last Night in Soho was what I have as number 5. This movie was definitely like really high on my list. Edgar Wright, I do enjoy his movies. I don't think I enjoy them as much as you guys do. But this was definitely something that I was looking forward to. And what I got was not really what I was expecting. It surprised me in a lot of ways. Some good, some bad. Probably not his strongest film. But the more I do watch it, I do like it more and more. Had great performances by Anya Taylor-Joy, and
Thomas and
Thomas and Mackenzie, and just the rest of the cast was just, they were fantastic visually, really cool looking as Edgar Wright's movies are. So yeah, what do you guys have to say about it?
Well, just missed my top 10, similar to Shang-Chi. Another one I bought on 4K yesterday, so I clearly liked it. Like you said, not the best of Edgar Wright's films, but still highly stylized and entertaining throughout, and one I'm going to probably end up watching more than a bunch of the movies that were on my top 10. I definitely will, in fact.
Yeah. I really like this movie a lot, but the story was fine. It was serviceable. But just visually, I thought they did a lot of really cool things. I liked the way that the character interacted, like Thomas and Mackenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy interacted, and how how like when Thomas and Mackenzie would like basically consciousness or however it was happening would transfer back in time. I just thought like that whole visual aesthetic was really cool, and the way that they like it was like Thomas and Mackenzie looking in a mirror, and it was Anya Taylor-Joy, and just like the way they like pulled all that off, I thought was really cool.
I think that could have easily become very confusing, and the way that he did it, it wasn't muddled or jarring. Like it worked. It was like a very cool aesthetic and like unique.
Yeah, it was definitely unique, and it was an enjoyable movie to watch. It's definitely one I'll probably watch again too. I'll watch that. I'll watch Nightmare Alley. Just those are some movies that just enjoyable to sit down and watch and kind of get transported into those worlds.
I liked it a lot more the second time. I mean, I enjoyed it the first time, but I definitely liked it more the second time I watched it.
Yeah, so did I.
I'll have to watch it again then, because I've only seen it the one time. But that was Diana Riggs' last performance, right?
Correct. Well, and she went out with a bang. She was really good.
Yeah, she was really good.
All right, Doug, your number 5 was Eternals, so we're gonna skip you again. We're gonna be skipping you a lot. For the rest of this. But no worries. My number 5, the movie that we probably, I think we probably talked about this the most on the podcast during 2021, maybe even 2020 and 2021 combined. I'd say it's between that and Tenet for what we talked about the most, but I think it's probably been this one, and it's No Time to Die. I thought it ended Daniel Craig's run in a very satisfying way, while not up to the highs of Casino Royale or Skyfall. It did have a lot in it that were at that level. What they failed really at was the new villain and his kind of whole story in the second half of the film. But ultimately, the last 10 minutes of the movie were pretty much as good as I could have hoped for Daniel Craig's swan song. Brought some cool new characters into the franchise. Ana de Armas's character. Great performances from the returning characters, whether it's Jeffrey Wright, Naomi Harris, Ben Whishaw, etc. It was just an emotional film, more than you'd expect from a Bond film. Then again, Craig's run is kind of built on emotion ever since Casino Royale. So it was one of a whole with the rest of his 5-film arc. This I don't think I'll ever be more satisfied with a Bond run than his. So it was only appropriate that this one ultimately made my top 10. All right. Number 4, Corey.
So I went with something that I don't know if you saw it, Doug. I know Murph, you didn't see it. The Green Knight.
I saw it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
So this movie's it's an adaptation of the fantasy tale, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I was looking forward to this for a while, and once I finally got around to seeing it, I really, really enjoyed it. The cast, Dev Patel was really fantastic. Alicia Vikander, I mean, I feel like she's good in everything, but she was solid supporting role. Joel Edgerton, also supporting character. But the movie followed Dev Patel's Green Knight character throughout his journey to find the Green Knight, the actual villain of the movie. I mean, you could say he's a villain. But the movie was shot so well, and a lot of the story was told without dialogue. And it worked really, really well. I mean, there were there were conversations that happened in it, but a lot of the journey that occurred in the movie was done visually, through these trials and tribulations, I guess, that he went throughout the his journey. And I really liked how it was like a gothic take. Definitely kind of teetered even on horror at times. It had like that kind of vibe. It felt like a Guillermo del Toro film, like it felt like Pan's Labyrinth in a lot of ways for me. But I thought it was like a very unique take on like dark fantasy. Probably just a little too long, if I'm going to be honest, but performance wise and just the way they adapted this story, I thought was really well done.
Doug, how'd you feel about the film since I didn't see it?
It wasn't really for me. It just didn't really like. I wanted to like it, and I wanted to because it visually looked like it would be an appealing movie, but I don't know. The story didn't really do anything for me, and
yeah, I mean, it didn't look like it was for everybody.
Yeah, I just kind of like felt kind of like I didn't hate it, but I was just kind of I felt very mad about it, and I really wanted to love that movie just based on the trailer. So
it was definitely an art house movie that you're either going to really enjoy it or hate it.
Yeah,
or maybe not
yeah,
hate it, just not like it. But
yeah, I didn't hate it. It definitely wasn't a bad movie. It just I wasn't the audience. I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Doug, your number 4 film, Nightmare Alley. So we've covered that one already.
Sure did.
My number 4 film is Spider-Man: No Way Home. We have also covered it. Then we back up to Corey. Your number 3 film is Dune. We've spoken about that one already. Doug, your number 3 film is Last Night in Soho. Another one that we've talked about. All right, here's a movie we can actually talk about. My number 3 film. It's Pixar's Luca. So this was another original from them that I thought they knocked out of the park. Their first original, probably that they. No, they've had a couple originals lately. They just had Soul and Onward, both which were very good. So yeah, they're 3 for 3 with their last original since they did that sequel run with like Cars 3 and Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4. But this one I just thought it's very like it's not like anything deep like Soul was. It's just dealing with friendship and another one of those like being different type stories. And now just because people are different doesn't mean you shouldn't accept them and live cohabitably or whatever. Yeah, I thought it was just a nice story. The score might have been my favorite one of the year. I don't remember if it was nominated for the Academy Award. I feel like it wasn't, but and that's stupid. But what are you gonna do? And yeah, this was one that I wish I could have saw in theaters, but Disney just keeps fucking me over when it comes to Pixar films playing in theaters. But I'll get to see Lightyear in theaters this summer. We know that's coming.
Yeah, that's coming to theaters for sure.
I'm surprised this one didn't make your top 10, Doug, since you got a couple animated movies on yours.
Yeah, there's probably a scenario where it would have squeezed into my top 10.
So it was close.
Yeah, it's definitely like just missed it, and maybe had I seen it more recently,
yeah,
and it was fresher in my mind, maybe it could have been higher up. But I haven't seen this movie in so long that it started to kind of fade away from my memory at this point. But it was enjoyable when I saw it. It kind of got like a little bit of a Little Mermaid going on with the main character, who's a merman type character.
Yeah.
That goes on to land and a literal fish out of water story. but yeah, it was good, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know that the story, like I guess where this fell out for me and some of the other movies over some of the other movies is like this movie didn't really speak to me and like I don't know, like emotionally speak to me. It was just more of like I was just like this was a fun movie that I enjoyed, and it was the animation was really well done. So I think that was probably the difference between this movie and some of the other animated movies that made my list. But great movie. Then I would definitely watch. I definitely need to watch that again because it's a really fun movie.
And very nice movie to look at. The animation was really good.
Oh yeah, the animation's beautiful, and Disney puts everything out in 4K, so it looks great.
Yeah. All right, Corey, you're number 2, The Last Duel, so we can skip that one. Doug, let's talk about the other animated movie that was on your list. You're number 2.
Yeah, so my number 2 is Encanto, Disney's movie with music from Lin-Manuel Miranda. This is just a movie that it follows. So if you're not familiar with the story, it follows the Mirabel is the main character. It follows the magical family, where everyone in the family has powers except for Mirabel, the main character, who for whatever reason didn't get granted the gift that everyone else in her family does. So she's kind of the black sheep of the family, and the movie's just all about the family and the different dynamics in the family, and each person's role in the family. But I don't think the movie really goes beyond. What's interesting about the movie is it really just focuses on the family and the dynamics of the family. Doesn't really go beyond that. And I think that's what, if you're looking for this big epic story, it's not really that. It's more about this family and the family dynamic. But there was something about the story that, for me personally, I thought was really gripping and really interesting. And then it's a Disney animated movie, so there's lots of songs. I really like the songs. I liked them a lot when I first heard them, and I wound up listening to them a lot after the movie had ended. And they're fun. They're not like, it's not anything that's going to blow your mind, but I thought there were like a lot of earworms. So I was happy to know that I wasn't alone when Encanto music started kicking off and wound up like topping the charts, and other people liked it, because there was a period of time where my wife was like, I don't really like this music. I was like, what are you talking about? This is great. And so I felt a little vindicated when other people started listening to it and liking it, and it started going towards the top of the charts. But yeah, some people really like this movie, and some people are just like, it's cute. I'm in I really like the movie camp. Not really looking forward to you guys watching it and telling me that you're in yeah, it was a fun like popcorn movie, but it's nothing more than that.
I have such a large list of Pixar movies that I need to watch. It's insane.
Well, this isn't Pixar. It's Disney. It's a Disney animated film.
Oh, okay.
So it's more of like a musical.
You probably have even a larger list of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a while. But this one I actually do want to watch, just based on how much it's blown up in the media and just like kind of culture over the past, few weeks. So this one I might watch sooner than later.
Yeah, the behind the scenes stuff is cool about this one, because it's based in Colombia, and they went they did everything they possibly could to make it as authentic Colombian of a movie as they possibly could, with some of the voice actors, like John Leguizamo is in the movie. He's Colombian, and just like the location that's the movie takes place in, the story, the music, like they just went and tried to make everything as authentically Colombian as they could, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I have a coworker who is Colombian, and they said it was really cool for their family to see a movie that went all out to kind of embrace that their culture.
Nice. Representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that they're making these types of movies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when I catch up with it, I will definitely let you know what I think. My number 2 is another animated one. We talked about it before, The Mitchells versus the Machines. So now let's get to each of our number 1 films. Corey?
So my number 1 film this year was Licorice Pizza. We were talking about it for most of the year. Paul Thomas Anderson's latest, and definitely a passion project for him, it seems. He wrote the story based on his life growing up in LA, and it was just the movie. The movie wasn't really anything. The story wasn't anything special. Wasn't really anything that people have not seen before. But just the way that it was written and the acting of the film was fantastic. I know we spoke about this before, but Alana Haim, who probably should have been nominated for an Academy Award, wasn't. She was the lead, along with Cooper Hoffman, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. I think both of them first movies, right?
Yeah.
First like roles, basically. Yep. Alana Haim isn't even an actress; like she's a musician. And you had supporting cast from Sean Penn, Bradley Cooper, Tom Waits, right?
Yep.
I mean, it had a star-studded cast that the movie felt in a lot of ways very similar to Boogie Nights, I think, but was also like a coming-of-age movie in a different way, and it hit all the right notes for me. I thought it was funny, it was dramatic, and just I need to see it again. I mean, I wish it was on streaming because I definitely would have watched it again by now. So now that it's wide release, I definitely want to catch it again over the next week or two. So, Murph, you saw it with me, so want to?
Yeah. And I guess I can spoil it. This is also my number 1 movie.
I thought you were going to actually say spoilers. I was like, oh, no.
No. I was just saying, because we're on number 1s, I might as well just say it. This was my number 1 as well. Yeah, it's the type of movie where you just want to go into the screen and be transported to that time period, the Valley in the 1970s. They just make it look so much fun. And as you mentioned, Corey, I mean, the cast is stellar all around, particularly from the 2 leading actors in the film, who are inexperienced, and yet you would have no idea based on the film. It was a return to form for me when it came to PTA. It's kind of the film I've been waiting for from him for most of my adult life, since his initial trio of films in the Valley. He's done his historical stuff since then, but this was relatively recent history, and in the same period as Boogie Nights, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. So yeah, it's a fun one. It's not for everyone, just because it doesn't really have a very clear plot throughout. It's a lot of vignettes, strung together scenes, but they're just a blast to watch. So I don't know. It was the movie for me. It was basically made for me. So yeah, I loved it.
One other thought. I think this movie, I mean, there's been so many examples of Paul Thomas Anderson being one of probably the best directors alive, but I think a movie like this, where it has 2 inexperienced actors that, like you said, it just shows how he can take actors that have talent, but it's unearthed talent, and really make them into these awesome stars in, you know, the film he's trying to make. Like he saw them and he was like, these actors are perfect, you know, for these roles. And, you know, he went and ran with it, and it ended up being, you know, perfect. Like they ended up being perfect for the characters. So
Yeah, exactly.
Doug, you got to see this.
Yeah.
I had no shot at making
interested.
my top 10 because I haven't seen the movie.
Exactly. But I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it. It might be similar to Encanto. You're just like, not for me. Or like, okay, but I don't get it. I don't get the hype. But Doug, what's your number one film?
Mine is my number one film. We've already discussed is Spider-Man: No Way Home. Purely for the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that it's the only movie that I legitimately had finished a 2.5 hour movie and was like, if I could just hit play again and restart it, like I'm ready to go. Let's do it again. It was just that enjoyable of an experience, and for that alone, I had to make my number one.
Makes sense. All right, then. Well, that's 2021. Obviously, there's some stuff we still need to catch up on, which we'll do so over the next month prior to the Oscars, as we mentioned towards the top of the episode. So, yeah, when we do catch up with some of these other films, ones that were on some of our lists, but not on all of them, are ones that weren't on any list but are nominated, we'll talk about them as well. But that's all we've got today. So, thank you again for listening. As you've likely noticed from our past few episodes, JP hasn't been on. He is actually going to he's retiring from the Wreath Film as far as being on camera. He's still helping us out behind the scenes with things like graphic related and stuff like that. So he isn't exactly going anywhere, and might be on camera sometime out of nowhere later on over the year or whatever. But thank you, JP, for all your time spent on everything, both on and off camera, over the past 2 years since we started doing this back in April of 2020.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But on our next episode, we're going to be sharing our thoughts on all the Super Bowl trailers, TV spots that we get. We know we're going to be talking about Jurassic World Dominion, Lightyear, Jordan Peele's Nope. I'm probably an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer. So there's a lot we'll be covering on that front. And then we're going to be recapping our thoughts on, or we're going to be discussing our thoughts on Peacemaker as a whole, since we haven't discussed any individual episodes. And next week is the season finale. Doug and I are completely caught up. Corey's going to work on catching up prior to our next episode. But as always, this has been Corey, Doug, and Murph at Wreath Film. We'll see you again next time, movie lovers. Thanks for watching.
Bye.